Hello Union City, welcome to a very special episode of Cable Chatter. My name is Nick Adam Poling and I'm the director here at K.I.S.S TV, and I'm joined by Mr. Philip Brewer. Thanks for being here today.
Oh, it's much enjoyment, trust me.
Yeah, just get the chance to check out the studio and see what's been happening with it, and of course Philip is an alumni of Union City and of K.I.S.S TV. Much like myself, you graduated in
98.
98, yes. Yeah, I was a 2000 graduate, and we both came through this program knowing Mr. Schmidt and Mr. Clear.
Correct.
And now here we are on the 44th anniversary of K.I.S.S at the end of our school year. Yeah. So kind of tell us what you do for the community and some of the things that brought you back to town after graduating high school.
Well, what I'm doing in the community right now is number one important thing was something that I created with my best friend Brent Cotter, which of course we were on Cable Chatter several years ago.
About 4 years, I think.
I think it was 4 years ago, and we had created UnionCityNow.com. We wanted to create that website as just a way to promote creative individuals, nonprofits, things like this. Mm-hmm. And it's just been a fun project that Brent and I work on all the time. Mm-hmm. Also, I'm involved with the Union City Arts Festival, and every year we're trying to bring bigger bands and try to create a unique experience every single year. Mm-hmm. I'm very excited this year. We finally, it's pretty much finalized that we have Eddie Money coming in as our headliner on Friday night. Yeah. And something, it's a lot of headaches and a lot of stress, but we finally made it through. Other than the Arts Festival, I'm only helping out with the July 3rd event. We're changing it around out the park. See, typically with the park, I said every 4th of July, that weekend when we shoot off fireworks, we have to block off a lot of the entrances, put caution tape up and all that. This year, Chief Steve Shoemaker and Chief Wells, they really put on a great project of recreating that kind of experience out of the park. And I feel blessed to be able to be a part of that, as far as I'm going to help try to bring in some bands and everything. But those guys have some really good ideas out there, and so I'm looking forward to the July 3rd event. Other than that, I said I'm working with Firehouse Pipes with Dick and Linda Wilcox. And Firehouse Pipes, we're creating different events, different musicians. We're looking at a magician. We're looking at comedians. And we actually recreated what it used to be called First Friday. We recreated it to be called Second Saturday in the City. Okay. And we didn't want to compete with Greenville because Amber Garrett, she's doing a wonderful job over there, and we didn't want to step on her toes because we're all pulling from the same resources.
Right. So
we recreated it to call Second Saturday in the City, and last weekend was our first event, and that was we created a thing called Vinyl Tap, which kind of is a spin-off if anybody has ever watched a movie Spinal Tap. So we had Vinyl Tap, and then afterwards we had the band Dyslexic Funk play at the Firehouse Pipes. And we have an event coming up here on the next Second Saturday in the City, which will be June 11th, is going to be our Comedy and Cocktails. It's our Atomic Wolf Productions. Me and the group of people, we it's a spin-off of the Randy Players, and so we do kind of an adult night only. Yeah. And it's just comedy and cocktails, and it's a lot of improv games, it's dancing, it's just being kind of stupid. Yeah. And it's fun. But
it's for adults only, and that's of course just going into that understanding that when you go on, let's say, like a cruise ship, and that earlier in the day they might have some family friendly entertainment, and this is for the adults only. So understanding that. Going back to the Vinyl Tap, I was going to ask, did the band, I had to throw in a joke, did the band turn it up to 11? I mean, did they?
No, we had this old Victrola,
really? Okay,
yeah, we had the actual crank. I had a hand crank. Jamie, she had a hand crank that thing nonstop and put on records. And luckily we were fortunate enough, we had a lot of help with Nate Conklin, the stuff that he had done with getting Fountain Square Brewery up here. And so, it's kind of fun just being a part of everything. And, there's a lot of unique and creative individuals out there, so it's just fun to be a part of it. You can't take credit for these things as one person. It's a group, and it's a large group, and it's great.
Yeah, I wish I could have thought of more Vinyl Tap, Spinal Tap, jokes in there, because I'm just kind of stuck on that right now. Getting back to the idea now here, we're recreating ourselves, Union City, as an arts town.
Correct.
In so many ways. It's not just the Arts Festival. That's just one thing that happens.
One thing, yes. Yeah. And there's a lot of people questioning what's going on with the stage downtown. And I said there are a lot of events. Once again, Chief Shoemaker and Chief Wells, they've got a lot of great ideas to utilize that stage downtown. So it's not just for the Arts Festival. There'll be family-friendly nights of movies being shown on the screen. I said there's car shows already being planned. there's all kinds of different things that we're planning, and like I said, it's just going to be an enjoyment as they happen. And so
they had the Halloween parade for the
Correct,
kids up
correct.
there,
Yep.
and then I think they even showed some Halloween movies that night. So yeah,
Correct.
they're doing plenty of work with it, and a good kickoff for it was the Arts Festival of last year with Rick Derringer as a headliner.
Yeah.
You had Roxy from Union City, of course, playing up there. Right Way to Nowhere.
Right Way to Nowhere. And this year, the first year we had, the headliner was Chris Hockey, which
Yeah.
we do have. Chris Hockey's going to be playing Saturday night,
Okay,
which
good.
is exciting because it's another hometown hero.
That's right.
It's one of those guys that's going to come back. Roxy, of course, is going to be opening on Friday night before Eddie Money.
Mm-hmm.
And we got Right Way to Nowhere on that Friday night, as far as, and also John Beatrice out of Farmland.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we've got a lot of unique different things coming on. So
Yeah.
I'm excited.
So being an arts town in so many ways, this is the chance for people not just to say, well, you can paint, you can draw, but the thing about it is music is a big part of art. So many things encompass the idea of the creative arts.
Exactly.
And so kind of your background in the creative arts, kind of go back a little bit, or tell me, more about recent. What is that inspired you to kind of get yourself involved in the creative arts of Union City?
Well, everything, it really did truly come back to K.I.S.S TV.
Mhm.
I go, that was the start of it all. I always call things, it's kind of a spiral effect.
Mhm.
I go, there's something that usually happens to an individual at some point in their life, and then you go with it.
Mhm.
And it was really, truly, I said K.I.S.S TV, which was offered to juniors and seniors.
Mhm.
I got very lucky. Me and Brent Cotter had been doing creative things together ever since we were little kids. We said we wanted to do a radio show our freshman year in high school, and we said we would be willing to wake up an hour early before school to come in, do a radio program of all of our favorite songs.
Yeah.
And we talked to Mr. Clear, and he was like, absolutely. He
Mhm.
goes, it's not being utilized. So Brent and I, for the entire freshman year, we came in and did a radio program every single morning.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like the beginning of it all. And it wasn't until, of course, to get into the class, I had to become a junior and senior.
Right.
But once you did that, it was like a playground in here.
Mhm.
It was nothing but, it was a hands-on experience of what you could do.
Yeah.
How creative can you be? Did you make mistakes? Absolutely. But there were so many things that, from creating commercials to, working with the guys like Zach Davis and all those guys, Joe Hufford, Stephen Farmer, and they ended up doing WrestleFest.
Yeah.
And that was a memory, and we're looking for the videos. I'm hoping Zach is looking for the videos of WrestleFest, and we'll be able to showcase that. It would never have happened if it wasn't for K.I.S.S TV.
Yeah.
And all of us, as we grew, it kind of came out of this. It taught you all kinds of skills, different ways of, it throws a lot of stuff in front of you of going, hey, how creative can you be?
Right.
And I said, now where does that take you? And I said, what K.I.S.S TV did to me is it's taken me this far of now we have Eddie Money coming to Union City.
Yeah.
And I go, we're working with everybody from Vicky Vardaman at the Arts Depot. And these creative individuals, it all comes together, and that's what the recreation of, that's why it's called Union City Redefined.
Yeah. And in so many ways, when you think about, our backgrounds coming from K.I.S.S TV, K.I.S.S TV is one outlet for creativity for students, but not only that, it's a creative outlet that gets the students into their community.
Exactly.
Because in so many ways, I see, some students, not all students, but I don't want to generalize here, but some students kind of feel like, well, I'm in my own little world, and whatever happens at school stays in school kind of thing. And this is a program that gets them out of the school and into the community, working with business owners.
Networking.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way in the world, and I try to stress that importance of always networking.
Right.
And I go, this pushes you to network.
Yes. And making those connections you normally would not have. You wouldn't know who the owner of that bank is, or the owner of that business
Correct.
downtown would be, and that, they're my next door neighbor, or they go to church with me,
Yeah.
and maybe one day they might be able to help me find a job somewhere, or maybe make another connection that would be, I want to buy something, they have something they need, and I want to sell.
Yep.
There's always those connections that we can make as a program, and that's the unique opportunity.
Exactly.
Of course, we're now in a stage where we're saying, how much of that can we do at the time we're allowed? How much will our state allow our program to thrive, and in so many ways our school. giving us that opportunity to thrive as a public access station. And remembering, of course, way back when the fact is everything was against this program. It was, you got a camera, you got some lights, and you've got a channel. And then a company like the Body Company comes in and says, "Here, can you start buying some more equipment?
Yep.
Can you make this
That's
a little bit more professional?"
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, and it's from that community support that it comes from, not just from your school and from your students, but the students are the driving force behind it. So when you were in K.I.S.S TV, you did radio shows.
Yep.
What were some of the other things that, beyond just the, class period you were in, that you ended up discovering and doing?
Well, I think a lot of what K.I.S.S TV did was it pushed you out of your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. Like I said, a lot of times, it can be very uncomfortable thinking you're in front of camera or any of this stuff.
Right.
And what K.I.S.S TV did, everything from doing the weather to being the news anchor to, I got to do every little piece of it. Mm-hmm. And it pushed you out of the comfort zone, and it made you just do it.
Yeah.
And I said, that's the amazing thing, what K.I.S.S TV can do. It pushes the children to get out of their comfort zone, to network, to meet people, to do all these things. And I said, it was that of working everything from the editing board to doing the news anchor, doing the weather channel. It was doing everything. And I go, when that happens to an individual, I go, it changes you.
Yeah.
And these kids, I go, that's the opportunity of K.I.S.S TV, of why that should stick around the way it is because it pushes these kids into a different kind of level of thinking compared to just sitting in a classroom and doing your book work, which is very important as well. But when you can do something like this with K.I.S.S TV, then it can push that individual into doing so many more creative endeavors. And it might not ever end up being in television or radio or anything like that, but if you've noticed on Facebook, the people who talk about K.I.S.S TV, they always come back and say they've utilized those skills in whatever job that they end up being a part of.
Yeah, and you said, go ahead.
Yeah, and that's the amazing thing. I go, here we are in Randolph Eastern in a small little town in Union City, and we have a broadcasting studio.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And you said it right. It challenges you, challenges your creativity, and if you're not challenged, then you're not growing as an individual. That's the way I always looked at this, because I was really challenged when I came into this program, but it was a case that I wanted more of that challenge. I wanted to learn as much as I possibly could, and even beyond what these facilities could do for me going into Ball State and broadcasting. Of course, it doesn't just stop there. Then it's life, it's experience. Mm-hmm. So when I always kind of talk about K.I.S.S TV being on air, I think of it like the high dive at the swimming pool.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know the high dive.
You step up to the edge of that, and the first time it is, you're either gung-ho.
You're either in or you're out.
Yeah,
you go.
And when it's all over, either you're the kid who runs screaming in terror, thinking that was but most of the time it's like, I'm going again.
You either do the belly flop, and like for me, growing up, I was a big skateboarder, skating. Mm-hmm. I've taken plenty of falls. I have the scars to show it. It's kind of like when you go to the deep end, mm-hmm. and you're sitting at the edge, and you make a choice.
Yeah.
You either go or you don't. And when you do it, I go, that excitement, that thrill, instantly goes, do it again.
Yeah.
No matter if it hurt, no matter if you fell wrong.
Right.
You're like, let's try it again. And I go, and a lot of people can also say they've never jumped off a high dive. And it's funny now looking back at the pool about the high dive was really not that high.
Well, no. Yeah.
I went to Pine Lakes and jumped off. I jumped off the 30-foot high dive at Pine Lakes, and I go, if I can do the high dive at Union City, I'm gonna do the high dive at Pine Lakes. And,
of course.
I did that, and I survived that. So it's kind of like everything. Like I said, K.I.S.S TV. It's where it all began. It's kind of like it pushes you, and it's a driving force. And I go, it's exciting, and I go, there's nothing more rewarding or exciting as when you see other kids kind of following in the footsteps of K.I.S.S TV.
Yeah.
This is all from Rick Clear and Mr. Schmidt. This whole thing kind of got started. They were excited about it, and it excited everybody else. And it just kept going and got bigger and bigger. Now, all of a sudden, I never thought in my wildest dreams, and I'm 36 now, that I would ever be in this position here to see that K.I.S.S TV wasn't going to be around anymore. Not the way I thought of it as.
Right. Yeah.
Not as a club, but as a classroom experience. And I said that's the strange part.
And one of the most rewarding things I get from my students is to see their product on the air.
Yeah.
They're not. It's not on their editor. It's not in their camera any longer.
Yep. Yep.
It's there for everyone to see. It's
permanent now. It's permanent. I go, that's the biggest thing. I go, when you create things like that, and I tell kids, when you create, I go, it's permanent now. Mm-hmm. It's out there.
Yeah.
And I go, you live with it. And I go, some things, just like in life, I go, you fall on your face sometimes. But I go, does that make you give up? And I always try to tell, when we work with these groups, it's kind of like, I would much rather try 1,000 times and fail and then get it done right once than to not try at all. And that's what you're teaching kids, to just try.
Dive in and make the mistakes, learn from your mistakes, and move past that. But if we're making the same mistakes over and over again, we gotta step back a little bit, and that's where it comes down to what is it the community wants out of this? What does a student want to gain from this? Do you want to be challenged, or do you just want to kind of sit around? And that's where I'm in the unique position of saying, I want to be here to be the teacher that challenges you, and later, when you graduate and can come back and say, I learned something from your class, you challenged me, you pushed me to learn the next thing, and didn't just take my least amount of effort and give me credit for that. I wanted to let you know, and I've had even students, I've only been here 5 years, who have said that I remember that from your class. I remember, and now I'm watching movies in a different way. I'm watching television shows in a different way now.
Listening to things different way. That's what happens. And I said, you have to have that person challenge you. I go, that's the part of life. I go, if you're not challenged, then are you just skating by? You want to be challenged. And I said, have I made mistakes? I've made tons of mistakes. You might not see them that much, but I said, I've made lots of mistakes. But I go, that's what you do. I go, you make the mistakes, and I go, that's the whole point of it. That's what challenges you. And then when you get a teacher, not only like yourself, but like the Rick Clears. I mean, I had so many wonderful teachers here at Randolph Eastern, and I couldn't say enough in the world of like how many things I was taught that these teachers might not understand or know. I can't come right out and just sit there and say, oh, look, this is what all you guys have done for me. But it's a truth. Every teacher at Randolph Eastern that I had growing up did something, had an impact on my life. I mean, that's the honest truth. They've had an impact. And I go, that's the amazing thing about our small community. They were real givers, and they knew you, they knew your parents, they knew your brother. It was community. And that was the thing about, at least with K.I.S.S TV in my experience, my older brother was part of it. He was older than I was, so he was in high school. That's Denver, correct?
Denver. And so when he was in high school and I'm, in elementary going into the West Side Middle School, down the street when it was down there, and he was doing all these neat things. I was seeing him on the air, and I just couldn't get enough of it. I just kept coming in here to check things out because this is so cool. This is so neat. It's here just down the street from my house. And in the process of that, even getting to meet some of the people they brought in as guests in this studio, and being able to see how they do a professional broadcast, and I thought was professional at that time. As I went along, I said, well, professional in the sense of a high school, but darn, a high school can do this with what they had and what they were given. And so I'm saying, this is really something special. So you couldn't keep me away from this place.
Well, exactly. And when I was fortunate enough that the family that I grew up in, my mom and dad had bought the house just down the street from here, so I was in the mix of everything with the school. I mean, we did so many things, and it kind of always comes back to the way I talk about spiraling out and doing this stuff. I said how K.I.S.S started and everything, it always opened my eyes to other opportunities. It always opened my eyes to other things. And I had so many fortunate things that have happened in my life, all because not only did I have the parents of the community just to let me be who I am, I ended up meeting all kinds of, like, everything from Brandon Boyd from Incubus. I was fortunate enough I got to meet him at K.I.S.S because my mom and dad actually wrote into the school asking me to get out of school. Because I wanted to go to Ozfest.
Oh, really?
How many parents will let you do that? And so they wrote it, and it was the next day we had our pictures at awards day. And I got a picture with I won the award for fastest typer with Becky Keel.
Oh, really?
And in the yearbook I've got my Ozfest shirt on, so I said, well, I can't get away with that. It's caught now. But I got to meet Brandon Boyd, and that was great. And as it kept going, all kind of starting from K.I.S.S, I was fortunate enough to go out with a really good friend, Casey, out to Las Vegas, and I ended up meeting Vince Neil from Motley Crue. And it was just these random things. And I just talked to you a little bit ago about my brother's experience with myself of Van Halen. We started the Balance World Tour back in '95, and then here it was 2015, and we got to be, I think it was 4th, 5th row at Van Halen front and center. I got to watch Diamond Dave. And I go to one of those random chances, and I said a lot of that stuff of opening your eyes, I said it started from K.I.S.S TV. I go, and I have to thank Rick Clear and John Schmidt for what they created here.
That's right.
And I'm only hoping, these other kids that are doing this, they're going to have that same opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, some of them, they have made career decisions, or at least, decisions in their college, majors, to switch it up. Maybe not specifically telecommunications, but maybe they wanted to go into radio, maybe they wanted to go into sports broadcasting, maybe they wanted to go into just communications in general, because they found that they had a knack for it, and this gave them that outlet for it. But we have so many of these memories that we have from our experience. I have to go back to one of my oldest memories as this little kid, and if I can find it, I'll add it to this video of the Santa Claus phone-in show that we used to have here. There's little, probably 4-year-old, maybe 5-year-old, I'd say little Nicky, sitting there and getting up on Santa's lap and asking for the game Mousetrap. That old game, which of course I asked him for Mousetrap, and he's like, "You want a Mousetrap?" The game.
Now you get it.
And my little brother playing with the cardboard fireplace. John Schmidt, he's knocking things over. John Schmidt taking him over his knee and trying to deliver the rest of the announcements about luminaries at the Pleasant Drive over here, and
where I live now.
That's right. They probably still do that, don't they?
Oh yeah. Luminaries. Which of this?
Been around forever, and that was 30 years almost now going on, and I still
it's tradition.
It was just one of those, and it's such an amazing memory of thinking, one day I would be a big part of this program, but the sad thing being at the end of it being a classroom. And so what I guess I'm encouraging the public to do is to remember, have those good memories, have those fond memories of it, and continue to support it in whatever form it will take. I really, am hoping that soon, at the time of this taping, of course, we don't have a definite model for what the program's going to look like in the future. It's not been given to me or the public, but I feel like it should be, and because this is the community's channel just as much as it is the schools.
Exactly. I think that's the biggest equation right there. It's the communities. I mean, the school of course runs it. It's here at the Randolph Eastern, but I go, it's a community channel. I go, we all have the memories of K.I.S.S TV here. Everybody does, and I think if everybody sat back and tried real hard, you're going to remember how many neat things happen from K.I.S.S TV. It's just, the thing is, though, a lot of things that happen is technology increases. It's going faster. You've got to keep up to date with it. I go, this was the biggest thing for me of watching how fast technology happens. And you better stay on board. You got to keep going with it. If you don't, I go, you'll fall behind. That's it. And I go, that's what it teaches the kids too. It stays with it.
It's easy to do that. It's easy to fall behind with technology in so many ways. And then there's the your technology versus my technology. Sure, I can shoot things with this thing, but was it going to look that professional versus if I start understanding what shot composition looks like, audio, being able to hear the darn thing.
Well, I mean, stuff I've created with the iPhone. I mean, it's been amazing. Everything from stop motion videos to doing, but it was all just experimenting with it. But does it take away from the real thing? This K.I.S.S TV? No, this is the real thing.
This is
And I go, I can do things on my phone all day long. But I go, but if you take away the real thing, that's where it can hurt people.
It can, and we want to give them that experience so it doesn't look like it's been shot on just whatever, a phone in that case, but to make something look professional, make something look like, well, I could get a job in this, I could make a career out of this, and I have something that I can take from this to show someone else that I have experience. I've used this as experience in every resume. I've got old VHS tapes converted to DVD now.
Same here.
To show people this is what we did. Now it looks crude by today's standards, but at the same time, we were doing this before other schools were doing this.
Well, that is. I mean, I've been sharing videos on my Facebook all day, and people are probably getting sick of it. But it was a lot of stuff. Was what I learned from K.I.S.S TV and old videos. My old senior editing project I did with Rage Against the Machine. I mean, I was a big skater, so I took all my videos, my VHS tapes, and I edited them all together and created a thing to Bulls in the Parade by Rage Against the Machine, which was funny because my one English class with Mr. Leahy, one of our speeches, I had to do a persuasive speech, and so my speech was about Rage Against the Machine.
Of course.
And I go, this is the way it works, and I said, that's the way everything is. It's what happens.
But
I go, you go along with it, and
Yeah,
it makes it more interesting.
So many creative outlets that we have now, and now as adults, as young adults in this community, there's still outlets for us. Between the Arts Festival, between the Arts Depot, the Art Association of Randolph County. Of course, we also have, in town, Carol Strock-Wasson.
I was going to bring her up earlier. I mean, her studio, if anybody out there has not seen her studio, let alone have you check out where we had Vinyl Tap, Oak Street Antiques.
Yep.
There's a lot of people that haven't been in there, or the 209. I mean, we had the 209, we had the Art Hub. And there's a lot of people in the community that have not witnessed these places yet, which is kind of sad, because they're very unique places. And I said, things are slowly changing, but I'm hoping, all we can do is hope for the best with K.I.S.S TV, that whatever it changes into, it's going to be for the better. Yeah,
and it really would fall in line with our community, redefining itself as a art community, because the days of manufacturing, those are kind of over. And
you always have to realize that, that those days are over. I go, this is the way it goes, and I go, K.I.S.S TV is fortunate to have you as a teacher. That's the thing. There's a lot of the community that they don't understand that because they're not here seeing it. I'm fortunate enough that I'm in the school system now with my son, and I get to witness everything. But I encourage the public to come by here and witness it. If they would witness it, they'd be like, wow, this is a cool place.
Yeah.
And I go, we don't want to lose that. That's the biggest thing. We don't want to lose this. So
it is cool. It puts Union City on the map in so many ways by saying we were the first high school program with an actual channel access to cable. No other high school could boast that. They might have had other TV and radio programs, but they didn't have what we had with the relationship with the cable company at that time, before Time Warner even moved in. And so, we had that unique experience. Of course, you were talking about life in general, how it throws you curveballs. You have Maddox, and I think, just from the stories that we hear in the community support that has been given towards you and your relationship with your son, and how much he has inspired people, and seeing his smiling face all the time. And Mercy Fest recently, being able to share your story there. We had the T-shirts donations and such like that. If there was someone out there who would want to help you in one way or the other with Maddox, whether it was financial or otherwise, how could they probably do that? How could they get in touch with you, maybe?
Yeah, they can get in touch with me. A lot of times, I've never liked, I've always felt this way. I've been very blessed and fortunate in the family that I grew up in. I got very lucky. I mean, that's all, it boils down to being very lucky. And it is a very nice surprise, to watch the community and what they've done with the benefits and all this and the stuff that's helping out. And we are getting so close to buying a van for Maddox. It's that close. I mean, I'm researching. I'm trying to find the best routes to purchase this van. But at the same time, I go, as this comes in and as money comes in through these benefits, I also know I'm friends with a lot of families on Facebook of families with children with HPE that aren't as fortunate as I am. There's a lot of times where I'm like, this money coming, I go, I wish I could help them.
Yeah.
It's like to pay it forward.
Sure.
I'm very lucky. I go, that's what it boils down to. And I said, and I do truly feel blessed about it all. People have helped out so much, and I go, I'm that close to getting that van. And I go, there'll be not a bigger smile on my face when I'm cruising down the street with Maddox in a new van. And I go, and it wasn't from me, it was from the community.
Yeah.
I go, everything was a part of that. And I said, Randolph Eastern, Greenville, Winchester. I mean, all these people that have been involved with everything. I go, I didn't do it, the community did.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm hoping the community comes out today, and supports this.
Yeah.
When you see that happen, I go, it'll make you have the same feeling what it felt like with all these benefits for Maddox.
Yeah.
You're going to have that community support backing you.
Yeah, and I think that's really what the community needs to hear is stories like that of coming together, not being, every man for himself kind of thing, but that we are a community that looks out for each other.
Yeah, exactly.
That supports each other. We see someone in need and we can help them.
Yeah.
We see a kid who might be getting in trouble. We'll call their parents and say, hey, would you, check that out? Maybe you didn't know this was happening. Hey, I noticed you could use a little help here. Could I help you? That kind of thing. And that is what's so great about Union City is there's such a good heart out there of people who want to help and want to give back to their community, and you don't get that in many other communities, especially not in bigger ones.
Exactly. Well, and I've lived in cities. I've lived in Tempe and Phoenix, and I lived in Indianapolis, Castleton, Noblesville, and I said, a lot of people in town, they look around and they've been here their whole life, and they don't see that the same things that are happening here are happening all over the country. I mean, I've driven through the small towns, I've talked to people, and I go, it's the same everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's what makes Union City the most unique experience, is because out of all the towns I've ever seen, I go, look what we have here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the wonderful thing. But people, there was an interview with Brandon Boyd from Incubus about that. It was kind of like, a lot of times, if you're standing too close to something and you're not seeing the bigger picture, you get kind of lost in it. But I said, if you back up and look what's happening in Union City, if you can back up and really look what's happening, I go, you can't believe how much we've accomplished in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And I go, imagine what we can accomplish now from here. I go, but we got to keep stuff like this, KISS TV, going. It's that part of it. I go, when you step back and look at what we're accomplishing in Union City, it's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to do that. Just to step back.
And when I worked in Richmond, I still lived in the community, but when I worked in Richmond, I kept boasting about the things that we had experience in high school and in this community, about how many people we knew and how many connections we could make, everything from just new entrepreneurships, new opportunities, a vast history, beyond KISS TV, beyond its 44 years of manufacturing companies coming and going, theaters, the railroads, so much history that's so rich and so interesting to check out old pictures and video from.
Well, and there's people that haven't even been to the old hotel museum.
Yes.
And look at our history. I go, there are so many unique things up there, let alone anywhere else. I go, you just have to take the time to do it.
So many stories to tell.
Yeah, there's so many stories to tell. And I said, we could probably sit here for the next 4 hours and probably never run out of stories.
That's right. Yeah, we could. Yeah,
it'd probably take us 2 weeks to get through all the stories. And
but that is where, if the community can support this program and others, those stories can be told to the next generation.
And it'll keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Phil.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And it's always good to talk with you and talk to members of our community that are trying to make a difference and trying to do their part in the wheels that spin in any community, and this one is one of many. So
that's why we're called the Hub.
That's right, we are. So thank you so much for joining us and listening to us blather on about stories and all kinds of things. But hopefully we've inspired some out there to get involved in their community in one way or the other, get involved in your schools, in what's happening with all of the redefinition of Union City into an arts town and an outlet for creative processes. So thank you so much for joining us for another great episode of Cable Chatter. We'll see you next time.